Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Astottara Sata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Sakho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki. Yamuna Mai Ki. Ganga Mai Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki. Tulsi Devi Ki. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hari bol bro, Hari bol. 7, 14, 39. Hari bol. Ada ji करताल जय श्री राधा काला जी भगवान की जय। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यमुनातीरवनचारी यमुनातीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदा यमुनातीरवनचारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा कालाचंजी राधा कालाचंजी राधे जय राधा वृंदावन चंद्र राधा वृंदावन चंद्र राधे जय जय जगन्नाथ जगन्नाथ बलदेव जय जय सुभद्रा जगन्नाथ बलदेव जय जय सुभद्रा जय निताय गौरांगो निताय गौरांगो निताय गौरांगो निताय गौरांगो जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल Premanande Hare Hare Bol. Shri Radha Kalachan Ji Bhagwan ki jai. Hare Krishna. So today we will read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 14, Text 39. If we can, we can put that on. 7, 14, 39. Okay, we'll start the recitation, and then the purport is long, so we'll go through that, and there are a few points that we'll discuss based on Srila Prabhupada's purports. Okay, I'll start. We can hopefully we'll have the press thing by then. Yeah. Drishtva tesham brito nrinam avajnanatmanam dripah tretadishu harerarcha kriyayai kavibi kritah Drishtva tesham mitho nrinam avajnanatmanam dripah tretadishu harerarcha kriyayai kavibi kritah. Anybody wants to decide? Avajananmranamritah Tretadishur harerarcha Priyayai kravibhi kritah Drishtva tesham rito nrinam Avajanatmatam nripa Tretadishur harerarcha Priyayai kavibhi kritah. Translation. My dear king, when great sages and saintly personalities saw mutually disrespectful dealings at the beginning of Treta Yuga, deity worship in the temple was introduced with all paraphernalia. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. As it is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 12.3.52, Krite yad dhyayato Vishnum Tretayam yajata makhair Dwapare paricharyayam kalautad harisi kirtanat. Whatever result one obtained in Satya Yuga by meditating on Vishnu, in Treta Yuga by performing sacrifices, and in Dwapar Yuga by serving the Lord's lotus feet, one can also obtain in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. In Satya Yuga, every person was spiritually advanced and there was no envy between great personalities. Gradually, however, because of material contamination with the advance of all of the ages, disrespectful dealings appeared even among Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Actually, an advanced Vaishnava is to be respected more than Vishnu. As stated in the Padma Purana, Aradhananam Sarvesham Vishnur Aradhanam Param. Of all kinds of worship, worship of Lord Vishnu is the best. Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadiyanam Samacharanam. And recommended more than worship of Vishnu in worship is worship of the Vaishnava. Formerly, all activities were performed in connection with Vishnu. But after Satyuga, there were symptoms of disrespectful dealings amongst Vaishnavas. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur has said that a Vaishnava is he who has helped others become Vaishnavas. An example of one who has converted many others into Vaishnavas is Narada Muni. A powerful Vaishnava who has converted others into Vaishnavas is to be worshipped. But because of material contamination, sometimes such an exalted Vaishnava is disrespected by others, minor Vaishnavas. When great saintly persons saw this contamination, they introduced the worship of the deity in the temple. This began in Treta Yuga and was especially prominent in Dwapar Yuga, Dwapare Paricharyaya. But in Kali Yuga, worship of the deity is being neglected. Therefore, chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is more powerful than deity worship. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu set a practical example in that he did not establish any temples or deities, but he profusely introduced the Sankirtana movement. Therefore, Krishna consciousness preachers should give more stress to the Sankirtan movement, especially by distributing transcendental literature more and more. This helps the Sankirtan movement. Whenever there is a possibility to worship the deity, we may establish many centers, but generally we should give more stress to the distribution of transcendental literature. For this will be more effective in converting people to Krishna consciousness. It is said in the Bhagavatam 11:2-47, Archayam eva haraye pujam ya shraddhaya hate na tad bhakteshu channeshu sabhakta prakruta smrita. A person who is very faithfully engaged in the worship of the deity in the temple but does not know how to behave towards devotees or people in general is called a Prakruta Bhakta or Kanishta Adhikari. A Prakruta devotee or neophyte devotee is still on the material platform. He certainly engages in deity worship, but he cannot appreciate the activities of a pure devotee. It has actually been seen that even an authorized devotee who is engaged in the service of the Lord by preaching the mission of Krishna consciousness is sometimes criticized by neophyte devotees. Such neophytes are described by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Sarva prani samadhanam samahartanam avadnya sparadha dhimatam tu bhagavata pratimaiva patram iti iha. For those who cannot properly appreciate the activities of authorized devotees, deity worship is the only way for spiritual advancement. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Leela 7.11, it is clearly said, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tara Paravartana. Without being authorized by Krishna, one cannot preach the holy names of the Lord throughout the entire world. Nevertheless, a devotee who does so is criticized by neophyte devotees, Kanishta Adhikari, who are on the lower stages of devotional service. For them, deity worship is strongly recommended. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Sadamayam Shri Guru Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganar Pragtatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So we'll discuss on this topic, especially so I particularly chose this topic because I was reading through this passage of the Bhagavatam and thought a few points were very relevant, especially for my practice of Krishna consciousness and how I can improvise on my own spiritual progress. I thought I'll pick this topic and we'll have some discussions on this. I'll recite the translation again and then I'll speak a few. My dear king, when great sages and saintly persons saw mutually disrespectful dealings at the beginning of Treta Yuga, deity worship in the temple was introduced with all the paraphernalia. So, a lot of points that Prabhupada mentions in this purport. I wanted to focus on a few important aspects based on this verse. Number one is how respectful dealings amongst the devotees or the community of devotees is very important for our spiritual progress, and anything we do collectively so much hinges on one, if not many, aspects of dealings amongst devotees. And how deity worship, there's a second aspect I wanted to share, is how deity worship helps the situation in case the dealings amongst devotees isn't at par, as they say. So these are the two aspects I wanted to talk about in today's discussion. So as we all know, it's an instruction given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave only 8 instructions, Shikshashtakam. So how much more? It's literally like the Bhagavad Gita for Kali Yuga, right? Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita in Dwapar Yuga, and then Lord Chaitanya came and gave us Shikshashtakam, only 8 instructions, as against 700 instructions in the Gita. So how much more important those instructions are, the weight of each. And in that, obviously, we all know one of the third verse in the Shikshashtakam is Trinadapi Sunichena Taroriva Sahishnunam Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. So very clearly Lord Chaitanya is giving the instruction there. Amanina Manadena. So it's one of the instructions also by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to respect others. And if we decode the verse, I heard it from many different devotees. It says, if you want to chant Kirtaniya Sadahari, if you want to be, always chanting the holy names of the Lord, these three things should be precursors to it. Obviously, Amanina, not expecting any respect for oneself and giving all respect to others. And how is that possible? It's actually not so easy. If you think on a practical level, to give respect to some devotees sometimes is easy. But to give respect to all devotees all the times is not easy. So how is that possible? That is only possible when we also exhibit the other precursors, which is Trinadapi Sunichena Taroriva Sahishnunam. If we can exhibit humility, if we can exhibit tolerance, then we can respect devotees all the times, all the devotees all the times, and then we can be in a position to chant the holy names of the Lord always. So that is one aspect of respecting the devotees. It's very important, and we'll see a few examples from the Bhagavatam of when these principles are neglected. It can be very, I would say, catastrophic, not just for the person, but the group of people that person represents, also can be impacted by the neglect of respecting devotees. So I was thinking about this from a practical point of view for my own, how I can improve myself in this dictum of respecting all the devotees all the times and not some devotees some of the times. Three factors, based on reading through different purports and some thoughts that I had heard from different devotees speaking, there are three factors with which help. There are three factors or reasons by which people respect others, and there are three factors by which people don't or disrespect others. So I'll try to speak on those also. So one of the factors where respect is given is based on position. I'll first give the three. It's based on position, it's based on qualities, and based on behavior. So especially in the material realm, not in the spiritual realm, in the material realm, position is the key factor for giving respect. If you see, like if tomorrow the police commissioner or the chief of police walks into our door, obviously we'll have to provide that respect, whether we know how that person is or not. That respect is there for the position, for the mayor of the city, for the judge, or I'm just giving examples, you got the point. Or for that reason, those of us who work in the corporate, respecting the boss. Whether we like him or her or not, the respect for the position has to be given, right? So position is one reason why respect is given. Second reason is qualities, and not just all qualities, the qualities that we admire, the qualities that you admire or aspire for. If you see it or if we see it in somebody else, that's when we respect the person. Like somebody may be an expert musician and we have nothing to do with music. We don't really admire or aspire for those qualities. So we may or may not respect that person. But if there is something that you aspire or admire for and those qualities are seen in that person, then there is a natural respect for that person. The third is behavior. Obviously, behavior that is congenial to our ego also demand or generates respect. If somebody is helping us feel good, we also in turn respect that person. So those are three aspects by which there is a tendency to provide respect, either through position, through qualities, or through behavior. And there are, so this brings a point that it is for a devotee to be able to respect all the devotees all the times, we have to go beyond these concepts of position or quality or behavior. And the story of a couple of stories that came to my mind when I was thinking through this topic. One story was of Sripad Ramanujacharya. All of us know Sripad Ramanujacharya was an incarnation of Vayu. He appeared in the 11th century in India, especially in the southern part of India. And there are beautiful, many beautiful stories in his life that are so instructive. So one such story was Sripad Ramanujacharya. He used to live in Sri Rangam. One time, he wanted to travel to Sri Sailam, which is another holy place. And he decided to go with his entourage. Being such a great saintly personality, there were so many people who would want to follow him. So he would always go along with a group of devotees. So in those times, you have to walk. Obviously, there was no trains, no flights, or it's just walking. So he would walk for a day and then sleep overnight at a place and then continue walking. So on his second day of travel, he realized that he's going to reach close to a village where two of his disciples live. One disciple's name was Yadnesh and the other disciple's name was Varadacharya. So Yadnesh was a very rich, aristocratic person, and Varadacharya was a very simple person. So some of Sripad Ramanujacharya's disciples said, Gurudev, we will run further and let your disciples know, because obviously there was no means of other communication that, hey, somebody's coming, please make all the arrangements. So some of the disciples, as a service to Sripad Ramanujacharya, decided to run or go ahead and let them know that Ramanujacharya is coming with his people so you can make the arrangements. So Ramanujacharya sent two disciples. He said, you can go to Yadnesh first. So they go to Yadnesh and tell him that Sripad Ramanujacharya is coming. And they do so, and he becomes very excited. In one sense, there is nothing wrong. He got so excited that his guru is coming that he forgot to even offer any water or any kind of respect to the two disciples who came. And they came back. They came back when Ramanujacharya was walking towards that village, and Ramanujacharya asked them the first thing, so how did Yadnesh treat you both? And they said that this happened. He didn't. In his excitement, actually, he didn't even offer any water to us. And Ramanujacharya said, I am not going to Yadnesh's place. If my disciple cannot respect my other disciples, if he's only worrying about offering the respect to the guru and not to the disciples of the guru, then I don't want to go to his place. So he goes to Varadacharya's place. And there is a beautiful story of what happens there, and the importance, the power of prasadam that comes out of that story, but that's not the topic for today. So this is one example of how, even in excitement, it's not even that he disrespected the disciples out of some other aspect. It was just that he got so excited to receive with the news of his guru coming to him that he forgot to offer his respects to the disciples. That is one example. Second story, which I was very stunned to hear when I heard that, was of Kanchipurna. Kanchipurna was a very special devotee of Varadaraj. Varadaraj is again in the southern side of parts of India. There is another very, very famous temple. It's the Varadaraj temple. this small village is actually Kanchipuram, and it is famous for a particular type of silk. Maybe the ladies know, called the Kanjivaram silk or something. The saris. So that is that village, and Kanchipurna was a very special devotee, a worshipper of Varadaraj, the deity of Varadaraj. He was so special that the deity would actually talk to him. So that was the special potency, that Varadaraj would talk to Kanchipurna. And one time when and everybody knew about it in the village, that the deity of Varadaraj talks to Kanchipurna. So one time, one Vaishnava from the village, when Kanchipurna was going towards the temple, he stopped Kanchipurna and said, "Dear Brahman, you actually are so great that the deities talk to you. Can you ask, when you go in front of the deities and offer the charmer and the fan, can you ask the deities if I will perfect my life and go back in this very life?" So Kanchipurna said, "Okay, I'll ask." So Kanchipurna goes and he asks Varadaraj that, "Will this devotee go back?" And Kanchipurna says yes. Varadaraj says yes. And Kanchipurna gets very excited. He said, "I might ask." In his mind he was thinking, "I might as well ask about myself now that the Lord is telling." So he asks, "My dear Lord, will I go back to Godhead in this very life?" And Varadaraj said no. And he was shocked. He's saying, "My Lord, every day I offer worship to you. You love me so much that you talk to me daily. And how can you say that I'm not going back?" Varadaraj says that actually that Vaishnava, he worships my devotees. He serves my devotees, and you serve me. And in return to you serving me, I am talking to you. So it's a settled, score is settled. I don't have to. There's a story, of course, is symbolic, but just explains this point of how we all know this dictum also, that one who serves, that is the principle that we follow. Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayur Dasa Dasa Dasanudas. That we should be the devotees of the devotees of the devotees of the Lord, and we should serve them. And that is what pleases Krishna more than serving him. So these are two stories on that. Of course, the question may be then, should we not, or what should be about deity worship? We'll talk to that, about how that helps us in this endeavor. But that's one aspect of what, like as I said, 3 reasons why we usually respect anyone: position, qualities, behavior. And there are 3 reasons why there is a tendency to disrespect. So we'll talk about that also. So it's basically very subjective, based on every person's conditioning, coming from different lifetimes, and what experiences we go through. But there are 3 reasons why there is a tendency to disrespect, which is important to learn so that we can make sure we don't go that route. The first reason is differences. It is pretty obvious that no two lives are alike. Like we all know, none of us have the same fingerprint or thumbprints. Everybody is very unique, starting with the thumbprint. In the way we think, in the way our belief systems have been built, even within Krishna consciousness, the likes, dislikes. So it's but natural that there will be differences. What would have been the fun, especially for Krishna, if everybody was exactly the same, right? Krishna also likes variety. We like variety because we are qualitatively the same, the soul, not quantitatively. So differences are natural, but that tends to bring the disrespect. That why does this person does not understand, or why this person does not realize that this is what it should be done. And sometimes it's very strong opinions. We become strong opinionated about certain things, and that can cause the difference. And that can lead to. Not necessarily it will, but it can lead to differences, and that can lead to being disrespectful. Second is envy. Uh, the story of, I think currently within our temple, the sixth canto, the chapters of Ritasur and King Chitraketu are being discussed. Because Saturday you don't go in the sequence, I picked this topic, but currently that is the theme of Bhagavatam going on. And in that, we do hear the story of King Chitraketu. Actually, it's a story of Ritasura, who was actually Chitraketu in his previous life. And we hear how envy can be so dangerous, where the wives of King Chitraketu, it's, this Bhagavatam says he had 10 million wives. It's Bhagavatam actually can explode the expanse of our thinking beyond. How can somebody have 10 million wives? It's very difficult. If you think about it, it's like, will you even remember whether this person is my wife or not my wife? With 10 million wives. So anyway, King Chitraketu had 10 million wives, and he begot a child through the mercy of Angira Muni, and he gave it to his wife Kritadyuti, and they had a child, Harshashoka. We know that story. But what happens in the story, again, most of us know, is because of envy, that the king is giving all the time to Queen Kritadyuti and nobody else. Just that fact motivated them to such an extent to kill a baby. That boy Harshashoka was just a baby, and they poisoned the baby and killed him. So that is the crazy nature of envy. If it is not curbed, envy can make a person do anything. So that they killed. Of course, Prabhupada mentions in the purport that these wives were actually being, some hot oil, they were ants, and hot oil was poured on them by that soul, and it was like a karmic reaction. But nevertheless, envy can be extremely degrading as a force if it is not checked. And the antidote to that is the fact, if we can flood our consciousness with the fact that everything and everybody, not everything, every soul is a part and parcel of Krishna. And Krishna loves everybody equally. There's no inequality in Krishna's mind. It's just a matter of time, based on that karma, that different people are exhibiting different type of behavior. So in like, when I came to America, I came from India like 20 years ago. The one culture that hit me was about how much people love their dogs. It wasn't there in India. And there is a saying, love me, love my dog, in the US culture. Which means that if you love me, you have to show that same love and respect to my dog also. It doesn't happen so much in India. But that, if you superimpose that in Krishna consciousness, Krishna is saying, if you love me, you have to love the people who are surrendered to me also, my devotees. Right? So, envy actually exhibits the fact that we are displeased with what Krishna is allowing that particular devotee at that point in time. Right? If you think about it, Krishna empowers, every soul has something special, and Krishna loves that quality in that devotee. We may not like that quality, or we may not see that quality, or we may see the other side, which is probably not as good at that point in time. The stone, the diamond is yet to be polished from one end. It is already polished from one end. And we unfortunately end up seeing that end, and then, that friction. And envy is basically like when we have something which we anticipate or we feel is better than others, we feel pride. When we see others having something better than others, we feel envy. So it's like a yin-yang situation. When something is better in us, we feel proud. When something is better in others, we feel envy. So that aspect also has to be curbed by this antidote that Krishna is allowing. It is Krishna. Nothing can happen without the mercy of Krishna. So if somebody is being, exhibited or somebody is being glorified for that. There should be no envy for that. And third is ego, the sheer force of false ego, which is, as we all know, it's the last covering of the material universe. So very difficult to, because once you penetrate that, we are ready for the spiritual world, the false ego. So that also sometimes makes us feel that I am greater than others. So then the tendency to respect goes down. To the extent we feel greater than others, to that extent the tendency to respect goes down. So that also is something we need to be aware of. And the stories in the Bhagavatam are pretty clear about what happens when there is disrespect. This entire story that is currently being mentioned in the temple about the story of Vritasura and who was Chitraketu, King Chitraketu in his previous life, is a glaring example of disrespect. How did it begin? Most, if you recollect, it begins with Indra being in the assembly and his guru Brihaspati, or guru, the planet guru Brihaspati, he walked into the assembly and Indra forgot to respect him. He didn't even offer him a seat. And one can imagine, actually, if you think about it, the position of Indra is such a, it's a tricky position to be in. Of course, not everybody can be in that position, because the more Bhagavatam we read, we realize it's a very, very, very powerful situation. He commands all the Maruts, the Adityas, the Rudras, the Gandharvas, the Kinnaras, the Apsaras, the Pishachas, the Yakshas. So all these are very, very powerful personalities. All these are the directors of different aspects of the universe management. And Indra commands everybody. So it's a very, very powerful position. And as they say, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely in that sense. So it's an intoxicating situation to be in, and that's what happens time and again. That position, and it's a position, Indra is a position. Bali Maharaj is going to be the next Indra. So that tends to bring in all these things, the envy, not envy, the ego. And Indra actually disrespected Brihaspati, his own guru. When he walked into the assembly, he didn't even offer him respects. And that caused the downfall of the demigods in such a bad way for such a long time. Through the past time we see that Brihaspati did not say anything to him. He just walked away and he disappeared. The pastime is that he disappeared. He did not, because a little later Indra realized his mistake of having disrespected his own guru and he wanted to atone for it. But Brihaspati said he needs to learn a lesson. So he just disappeared. And because of that, he had to take shelter of the pastime goes as they went to Brahma. Actually, seeing that the disrespect was there, the demons took that opportunity to fight the demigods, and the demigods were almost defeated. So it also shows that the moment you disrespect, there is a consequence, and it can be like they started losing their potency, and even the demons. Because the Bhagavatam very clearly explains that at the same time the demons were respecting their guru, Shukracharya. And Shukracharya gave them the ability to fight the demigods. So even amongst the asuras, that respect helps them too. That's the point. And Krishna is so kind. If you think about it, even if we want all material opulences, Krishna is happy to give it to us. That is how this concept of suras and asuras is there. And Krishna loves everybody equally. Even the asuras have the guru, Shukracharya, and Krishna respects. In fact, it is said that the lower planetary systems at some places like the Tala, Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Rasatala, Patala, in many places it is even more opulent than the Swargaloka. That's the mention. So it's Krishna's kindness that, okay, whatever you want, I will try to fulfill. So even that aspect of respect helps people become materially more powerful. That is something. So because of the disrespect, of course, Indra had to go through this. Then the story continues where eventually they go to Brahma, and Brahma tells them to go to Vishwarupa, who is the son of Twishta, and Vishwarupa helps Indra with the Narayana Kavacha, and then he fights. And then Indra does another disrespectful thing. He feels that Vishwarupa is also giving some part of the oblations of the yajna to the demons secretly. And what does he do? He kills, he chops off the head of Vishwarupa. And Twashta became very angry, and he invoked Vritasura. And then Indra had to do so much to even kill Vritasura. He had to get the bones of Dadichi, and the pastime goes that for one whole year, after fighting thousands of years, Indra had to just saw the head of Vritasura. For 1 year, he was doing that before the head could come off. So, and that also, when you think about it, that also arises, what King Chitraketu went through also arises from the fact that he disrespected Lord Shiva. Right? If we connect the dots, there was a disrespect in this to Lord Shiva, that he had to go through this process of being being an asura. And then of course there are so many stories. I'll not go into details. King Daksha also disrespected Lord Shiva and had to end up having a head of a goat. Of course, that is not something that happens on Kali Yuga, but to conclude how deity worship, that was another aspect that this shloka was trying to explain, how deity worship was introduced as a means to arrest this symptom of disrespectful dealings amongst Brahmins and Vaishnavas. So there are two aspects which Prabhupada in this purport focuses or mentions briefly about one aspect. He says that for people who cannot appreciate, because appreciating Vaishnavas and other devotees itself is an opportunity to progress spiritually. It's a means to spiritual advancement. But if that is not possible, then deity worship becomes the only means to, of course, in Kali Yuga, the process, Kriteya Dhayata Vishnu Tretaya Amjate Makher, Kalau Tad Hari Kirtanat, right? That is the thing. So, though chanting the holy names is the recommended process of advancing in Krishna consciousness or in our bhakti, deity worship is important because if we are not at that level of being able to respect, or the deities form that central or that centrifugal force in a community, in the family also. Prabhupada introduced deity worship, not just temples. He asked all the grihasthas to have temples, like treat your house as your own, as a temple. And that's why the most beautiful place or the most beautiful part of your house should be your temple. That is what the recommendation is. So how does it relate? Because deity worship brings in regularity, it brings in cleanliness, it brings in humility, it brings in that tendency to respect. Like we all naturally, when we come in and go out, there is always, we have to bow down. And then gradually the understanding should be that, so we all are trained, those who worship the deities, we are all trained that the paraphernalia should never be touched with, because it is a Balramji's expansion, right? It should not be touched with your feet, and there are so many, we have to sanctify it. So if the consciousness should be that the most important paraphernalia in the deity worship is the devotee himself, right? So if we can respect the other paraphernalia of the worship, why can't we have that level of respect for the actual person? performing or using that paraphernalia. So that is one way of bringing in the respect, that everybody is in the service of Krishna. So at a minimum, based on that aspect, I have to worship. And second is, it brings in that feeling of, like we say, Kalachandji's family, right? We have a WhatsApp group also, Kalachandji family. So that consciousness should pervade, that we all, it's not just my family, it is Krishna's family. It goes beyond just the walls of our house. It goes across. So there are many different layers to it. I'm almost about out of time, so I'm not going to go in details. But the point is that the deity worship, that is the way it slowly but surely improves the consciousness to a level where we start feeling that we all belong to a larger family. And obviously, of course, family will always have differences of opinions, but we know how to respect, how to love each other. And that aspect of loving and caring for each other and respecting each other is what pleases Krishna the most. And then everybody can advance together. As we know, the saying is that the family that prays together stays together. The family that sings together clings together. The family that dances together advances together. So that is the thing. If we can have that consciousness that Kalachandji's family is one big family, and if we do all this, then there is no question of disrespect. There will be only respect and love and care. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anybody has any thoughts or comments to share or questions?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu, for a wonderful class. Many beautiful points. Personally, I have one day of altar seva in a week, and it is so blissful. And even if we don't, I'm always late. Even if we don't speak to the fellow devotee pujaris, it's just so ecstatic to be in their association and serve the deities together. So thank you for bringing that point. Thank you.
Yes, Mataji. I mean, not just the pujaris, but
everybody.
Everybody.
Yes.
The dictum, at least the thing we should try to follow is respect all devotees all the times, not some devotees some of the times, based on that. And I think that I feel personally that is a safe way, because we see so many, just neglect even unconsciously can be tricky. Of course, there are practical aspects. Sometimes we have a bad day and a devotee passes by and we are not able to say Hare Krishna or Hari Bol to that person. We don't greet that person. So that's why it's a collective consciousness that the other devotees should also realize that it's okay. You should not feel that I was not respected. That's why amanina mandina, that kind of thing. So, yes. So thank you, Mataji. This project.
I've heard that if a devotee is criticized or attacked by a non-devotee, then we shouldn't worry about defending ourselves, but we should defend another devotee. We should defend devotees, but not defend ourselves. But what if the people that are attacking one another, if they're both devotees? How do you know which side to take?
So obviously that is the reason why there are different systems within the community. We have the temple management, we have our own gurus, our shiksha gurus, our diksha gurus. So I'll share my perspective on this, Prabhuji, because it's a very practical thing about if you see, like I think if the question was understood, if I understood the question correct, that there are two devotees who are not able to get along and there are disrespectful dealings among themselves, how does a third person looking at it, what is that person's situation? Correct? Is that right, Prabhuji? So I think unless we are in that position of authority, either spiritual or managerial, we shouldn't really be getting involved, because it doesn't really solve the situation that way. There are two things. One is you demand respect and you command respect. So if you command some respect, or naturally you are in a position where both those devotees will have some level of respect for you, and if you command that level of respect, then it might be worth at least trying to help and resolve from a very shastric and seniority point of view. But if not, and if we try to demand that respect, that hey, I am for XYZ reasons, I want to help you and this is how you should behave, it may not really work. In that case, it is better to refer to, as I said, the spiritual authorities are our gurus, or somebody from the management who are authorized representatives, like that. I feel that is the better way. From our spiritual point of view, the best thing to do is maybe, number one, we pray. Obviously, prayers of Vaishnavas are very powerful. If we pray for everybody, then situation can definitely improve. Or do, and this is, I'm thinking aloud as I'm saying, Prabhuji, that or do something which inspires both of them, through our own behavior. If we can somehow manage to inspire both people in a certain way, that is another opportunity. Otherwise, we should just refer to, the matter should be referred to the right authorities, is my thinking. Yes. Yeah, I think it's.
You partially answered what I was going to suggest, that this is a practical idea, that if perhaps there are a pair of neophytes and they're fighting over something simple, you can offer some instruction, and amongst equals, you can inspire and perhaps hear both sides negotiate, allow each person to air their opinions, and perhaps an equitable solution can arrive. And of course, amongst superior or advanced devotees, it's sometimes very incomprehensible. And yes, prayer is probably the best answer.
Yes.
I hope that's a useful suggestion.
No, that is actually. And you made a good point, which I had it in my mind, I didn't speak out, is it's easier to respect seniors from our point of view. It's very natural that respect comes, but it's very difficult to respect people at the same level, or for that matter, lower level. People we feel like somebody's a neophyte, so we shouldn't respect. But time and again, there are so many examples. Like I have heard stories of many of our senior sannyasis, how they, even a new devotee, relatively new devotee, they were so kind and so generous. All the way they would, the story I heard was one time our, of course, Jananivas Prabhu and Pankajangri Prabhu, the two transcendental pujaris, they would, in one of the, it was back in 2007 or 8, I'll come to that point, Prabhu, about the superiors. But just to mention this point, that they would swim, and then some of the neophyte devotees, they didn't even know who's Jananivas Prabhu and who is Pankajangri Prabhu. So they would go and play with them. And the other devotees say, hey, you have to keep distance. You cannot just frivolously play with them if they are swimming. And they would go, like that devotee was sharing the pastime, that of course Pankajangri Prabhu left us, but Pankajangri Prabhu he was an expert swimmer. He would go down and he would emerge after some time from another side in the river. And while he would be down, people would hear sound like, ow. So he would actually go and take the dust of the devotees from inside the water. And these were sometimes even neophyte devotees, They were just new devotees. So anyway, so that's an learning for us. But yes, Prabhu, actually there is a possibility that, because end of the day, it is in that sense, the this is being practiced in Kali Yuga. That is the biggest situation, because Kali does everything to unite non-devotees. Non-devotees are very united in what they do, because they have to follow Kali's instructions, and Kali is happy when they do that. And he does everything to disunite devotees.
So since this age is the emblem of quarrel
and
hypocrisy, so we must avoid quarrel and hypocrisy.
Yes. I mean, easier said than done, but at least devotees start at the intellectual level. We have to take, as we know, the way to control the mind is through vivek, through buddhi, through intelligence. And then intelligence is further controlled through consciousness or awareness. So at this, we may not be advanced to that level where our consciousness, where we are aware. If our consciousness is at that level of advancement where we see Krishna in everybody, because it is the fact, Krishna is situated as Paramatma in every person's heart, whether he is a devotee or non-devotee. We cannot see that. So at that level, at least at the intellectual level, we should realize that hypocrisy and quarrel is inevitable. It might be visible even in, superior devotees. And you want to use this one?
Tamal Krishna Goswami once said, when two spirit souls meet each other, how can there be a difficulty? So if there's a difficulty, one party or both parties are not acting as if they're spirit soul.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Thanks for sharing. Anything else for anyone? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.